Nathaniel and Superfly.
But then one fateful night, Zone
I said, whoa! Hold on now, baby! I'm just not ready for that kind of commitment! So we broke up and I never saw her again, but that's just the way things go! Looking up because about a week later, I finally achieved my lifelong dream. That's right, I got me a part-time job at the Sizzler. I even made Employee of the Month after I put out that grease fire with my face. Oh yeah, everybody was pretty jealous of me after that. I was getting a lot of attitude on me. Like one time, I was out in the parking lot trying to remove my excess earwax with a dog bell. When I see this guy Marty trying to carry a big old sofa upstairs all by himself. So I think I'm gonna say, hey, can you help me with that? And Marty rolls his eyes and goes, no, I want you to cut off my underlegs with a chainsaw. And then he gets up and picks it on me. He's like, hey man, I'm like, it's fantastic. Oh, that's great. How was I supposed to know that? Well, I was flying through the party outside. Besides, I'm just kidding. They call me Torso Boy. So what's he complaining about? Hey, is that money on another anecdote? This guy comes up to me on the street and tells me he had a fight. Just to be funny, I took a big bite out of his jugular vein, and he's yelling and screaming and bleeding all over, and I'm like, hey, come on, don't you get it? But he just keeps rolling around on the sidewalk, bleeding and screaming, ah! 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 You know, completely missing the irony of the whole situation. Man, some people just can't take a joke, you know? Anyway, where was I?
that says, hello, my name is Eugene.
Okay, anyway, I know it's kind of a roundabout way of saying it, but I guess the whole point I'm trying to make here is I hate sauerkraut! That's all I'm really trying to say. And by the way, if one day you happen to wake up and find yourself in an existential quandary, full of loathing and self-doubt and racked with the pain and isolation of your pitiful, meaningless existence, at least you can take a small bit of comfort in knowing that somewhere out there in this crazy old mixed-up universe of ours, there's still a little place called